Hello, welcome back to the studio. Today we're going to walk through the process of this oil painting behind me that I just finished and I am in love with. I created this one in oil working alla prima. I tried a few things differently and I think I found a way to consistently create these really vibrant floral paintings, and I'm excited to share them with you. Clearly I love painting florals, so leave a comment below and let me know what your favorite flower is, and you might just see it in a future painting. So let's get started. I always start out with a really general sketch. It's nothing too detailed, but it's more just to map out where each flower is going to go. I draw in these crazy little circles and add in the centers in a way that helps me orient the way that each flower is going to be facing. It kind of serves as a map to guide me later on so I remember where I am and where things are facing, because it's really easy to get lost in a painting that's this detailed. Then I start painting in the background. And this is where things are really different for me, because in the past I would always use a solid background color. For years, I used black. I would just do a solid black layer of acrylic and then do oil on top of it. And I really liked how dramatic it was, but it definitely gave the painting a more graphic feel. And I've been looking for ways to soften the look of my work a little bit. And so I think this gradient is one of the biggest factors in why I love this painting so much. I filled it in a way that if you were looking at the reference photo with squinted eyes, these are the colors you would see. I'm being really intentionally chaotic with my brush strokes because I want some of that movement to show through in the final piece. I want all of those marks to kind of suggest some of the stems and foliage that are underneath all of the layers I'm about to paint. I started adding in some leaves just to make sure that this whole concept was going to work, and right off the bat I was really excited about the outcome. So stopped there and then moved on to the roses because I had so many roses to paint. It was a little overwhelming at first, but also really exciting because they have so many beautiful colors in them. I originally took this reference photo on a trip to a rose garden with my daughter, and it was kind of an earlier morning when the sun was just coming up and shining that really golden light on everything, and it made the prettiest effect on all of the roses. So that feeling is something I really want to capture and keep throughout the painting. The feeling of strolling through a fragrant rose garden in the morning, the warm light shining on you, flowers bouncing in the wind. So I wanted the whole thing to feel really soft and dreamy with a little bit of warmth. As I start adding in the leaves, you'll see that I painted the background in more of a middle tone because I wanted to be able to add in my darker darks and lighter lights and just have more freedom to play around with the colors that were being layered on top. And I think it worked really well. It gave me a lot of freedom. And I had so much fun painting the leaves in this piece because there were really unexpected moments of bright yellows and seafoam greens. And it was a really nice break from painting the flowers. I kind of rotated back and forth between the two so that I wouldn't get bored or like too complacent painting one or the other. And it was exciting to switch up the colors so much because there are so many colors in this painting. On surface level, it's green leaves and white flowers, but in reality, the whole spectrum of color is in here, and it's just so fun to paint. And that's one of the biggest reasons I love painting white flowers. I'm really always drawn towards white flowers because they're never actually just white. They reflect everything around them. And in this case, my reference photo had the most amazing light. Like I said, the sun was casting this warm light and the petals were catching all of that. And then others were sinking into the background with these really cool blue shadows. So I got to use pale blues and soft lavenders contrasted by these really warm oranges and butter yellows. Seeing those colors interact to form something as delicate as a rose always kind of feels like magic. And in this case, the blues and oranges are complementary colors, so it just made everything pop that much more. The way those subtle shifts in color can create a form never gets old. And so as I'm painting each rose, I'm just layering in all of these beautifully contrasting colors, and flowers are appearing before my eyes. It's kind of amazing. There were a lot of moments where things looked kind of like blobs, honestly, but one mark or one brushstroke later, it suddenly turned into the perfect little flower. And that kind of magic is something I think a lot of artists feel, especially those with more impressionistic styles. It's about painting what you see one color at a time, and eventually it just turns out. I'm working on this painting alla prima, which means wet on wet because oil paint takes forever to dry. So for the most part, the background layer is still wet while I'm adding in all of this paint on top of it. And that's actually why I intentionally left the areas of the big flowers white, because I didn't want to have to work against that dark background. It kind of would have been an unnecessary effort to bring the luminance back into the flowers. So I left them white so that I could start from a bright point. But since the background is still wet, I had almost kind of easy opportunities and happy accidents where everything kind of blended together. Certain petals got a little more muddy and they tended to fall into the background. And so I kind of used that to my advantage, using the wet paint that was already there to mix in and make things start to naturally recede and other things pop forward with thicker, brighter paint. It created so much depth. Another reason I was really drawn to this composition was because of the movement and all of the imperfections. These flowers are in every phase of life, from big blooms, wilted petals, and tiny buds. They're all reaching out in different directions and dancing in different shades of light. I love how it doesn't feel staged. It feels so natural and real and a little chaotic, but in the most beautiful way. But all of this movement meant I really had to pay attention to the angles and shades and direction of each flower to make it feel believable in the space. As I kept working and looking around the canvas, I started adding some of my favorite mixed colors in other little spots. A dab here and a dab there, because even if it wasn't technically in the reference photo, I think it helps tie the whole painting together. When your eye catches onto a color, it can follow it around and it creates this really lovely harmony that leads you throughout the entire painting. Overall, this piece was a really nice change of pace because I've been working in acrylic a lot lately. Even though I am primarily an oil painter, it's been about 5 months that I've been painting with acrylic. The way the paint stays so soft and workable, and the way you can build up textures with oil paint, there's just nothing like it. Every brushstroke stays present, and the way the colors melt into each other creates this dreamy softness that just isn't possible in quicker drying mediums. So I really enjoyed working on this piece, and it reminded me of why I fell in love with oil painting in the first place. Every painting teaches me something new, and this one was no different. And I'm really excited to start another one soon. I'm actually attending or really being a part of my first art show this fall, so I'm working on building up a big inventory of paintings that I'm excited to show you. If you're interested in this painting or a fine art print, both are available on my website, and I'll leave a link in the description below, along with a list of all the supplies I used to bring this piece to life. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today in the studio. If you enjoyed this behind the scenes, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.